Hello and welcome to the Arctic. Today we are on the Lake Inari, which is frozen solid for the winter. Got a sledge behind me and we are heading out to wild camp on a frozen lake. We are incredibly excited for this. We are fully kitted up for the expedition ahead as we carry on walking in to the white abyss. We've been out here in Finland now around about 7 days, and ever since we landed this trip has been a massive anticipation. Never camped overnight on a frozen lake before, didn't even know whether it was possible or not, but anyone who lives in the Northern Hemisphere I'm sure knows it entirely is. The lake ice we're currently stood on is over half a metre thick. You only need 4 inches to walk on, so we are completely safe being out here. It goes without saying, make sure you check ice depth before you start anything like this. And if you're watching this video thinking that guy's stupid, well, you're right, I've just not managed to kill myself yet, so you know, don't copy me by any means, but I am out here ready to camp on an ice lake. Obviously, because we're on a lake, there are islands like that one just over there. There's the ones behind us too, and a handful more in the distance. It's slightly hard to comprehend that right now we are just on top of a frozen lake, and it is particularly deep in Inari as well. When all this defrosts, we'd just be swimming around right now, but instead we've got this incredibly flat frozen plain to trek across. It is truly just epic. Check those out. There's prints up and through the ice. It's one thing we're pretty desperate to see while we're out here is either moose or reindeer. We have seen reindeer so far while we've been out here in Finland, but we've not really seen them in the wild. And moose, I mean, well, I've seen a couple over the last few years, but just to see a handful of them together out here in the wild would really make the trip. Those prints do look particularly big. I think they're probably moose, maybe they're not. If you're a moose or reindeer expert, drop it in the comments below. Let me know what you think. Moose or reindeer? It's incredible how cheap it is nowadays to be an Arctic explorer. I already had the ski goggles, I had the gloves, bought some snowshoes on Amazon for 30 quid, a plastic sledge for €9 at the hardware shop down the road, and a bit of rope that cost me €1. So collectively, with the kit that I didn't have, it cost about €40 to come out here onto a Finnish lake and be an Arctic explorer. I don't know how much Arctic expeditions used to cost in the past when the Victorians used to do it, but I suspect a lot more than 40 quid. We are just coming between this big group of islands at the moment. Here in Finland you get a lot of lake houses, and there's a nice little wooden one just there in the background. One of the things they say about walking on lakes like this and any ice is you want to make sure you sort of stay away from the shoreline as much as possible. For us out here today, it's not too much of a concern because the ice is incredibly thick all the way around. However, it's only thickest in the middle of the lake because there's less movement of the water. So we are trying to keep a bit of a distance between us and these islands. This looks as good a place as any for a bit of a stop. Arctic explorers need to eat about 8,000 calories a day, and well, when you've got an opportunity like that, you don't want to pass it up. On this little expedition of ours, we've got some truly luxurious kit, such as, check it out, if I can open them, camping chairs. These weigh an absolute ton, I'm not going to lie. However, when I saw how easily that weight dragged across the ice, I thought, yeah, why not? Let's go for a luxurious ice camp. you almost have to park your snowshoes in their little parking bays underneath the chair before you can sit down. Oh, check us out on a frozen lake, having a picnic. This is the most luxe Arctic exploring I've ever seen, but it's absolutely the way to do it. What's incredible about this is the amount of kit, thank you, the amount of kit that we've got there sat on that sledge is really, really heavy. And if I was in the mountains back home in the UK, that would be impossible to carry around up a mountain. I mean, I'd make it happen one way or another, but it'd be really, really difficult. But because of the sledge, it just slides across. That's such an easy walk. Up until this point, we've done around about 3 miles or so, and it's been pretty easy going with that weight. You just don't feel it. When the sledge gets a bit of momentum going along, so it carries it through, and it makes it really easy. Whenever you're on one of these mini expeditions, it's always important to stop for a bit of lunch. We've got tuna and cheese sandwiches. I almost feel like we're doing some sort of podcast on the ice lake. I could absolutely see that happening. We'd maybe sit together perhaps. We'd talk about something that doesn't make any sense to anyone else. Something no one really wants to hear about, but they listen to because they're driving along in their car. Maybe I'd tell you about these islands. Maybe I'd tell you about parenting advice. Something completely worthless, I'm sure. Yeah, we're moving on to the final leg of a little mini expedition. Got everything repacked up and back on the sledge. The plan is to kind of camp slap bang in the middle of the lake for the night. We've gone around these big islands, almost like an archipelago, just behind us. Really has been an extraordinary walk across the ice. We're going to find ourselves somewhere to pitch for the night, for a night under the stars like no other. Oh. Well, this looks about as good a spot as any. We're far enough away from any of the islands, any of the little narrow spots in between. We're right in the middle of the lake here, so it should be good ice to be able to pitch on. We're going to get the tent out. We've got some ice pegs which are going to go in and drill into the ice below. As long as the ice is as thick as those pegs are, then we're absolutely fine. Rightio, let's pitch a tent on an ice lake. There we go, one of the things I wanted for quite a long time, but these are quite expensive back in the UK. This is an aluminium avalanche shovel. This thing from a local outdoor shop, €9. So I thought I'm going to pick that up while I'm here. Turns out we're probably not going to need it for much, to be honest. This snow, as you can see, is really powdery and really thin, so we are just going to pitch the tent right on top of this. There we go, got a dry bag with all of our kit on and our trusty €10 Arctic setup there. Can't get better than that, surely. The tent we're going to be using tonight for this is our Cairngorm 2. I've had to repair a pole on this and the poles haven't really matched up, which is why I've got some on the outside, but not to bother, it will work for tonight. This tent is also, more importantly, geodesic as well, which means it should stand up on its own without having any of the pegs in, which makes a lot of sense, especially out here too. A lot more structure, a lot more strength. Let's get this thing pitched up and get our get our snow pegs in as well. This tent has the longest poles of any tent that I've ever known. It's also one of those jobs that's quite tricky to do with your gloves on as well. Best of your manager, I can't quite do it in my gloves.
I'm not taking them off.
It's too cold. These poles, all in all, I think are about 3 meters or so, and this is meant to be literally an Arctic winter tent. That's what it's for, and I can never quite comprehend pitching this thing in poor weather. It must just be really, really difficult to do. Ooh, tripping over my own. Anyway. There we go. That is our geodesic very weathered Berghaus Cairngorm 2. As I said, geodesic, so stands up of its own free will. Doesn't actually need any pegs in, which is great for structure in poor weather. However, we do want to make sure it is pegged down for the night. There's no wind, no real bad weather coming in, but obviously you always peg your tent down. So that's why we've got our, well, what we're calling snegs. Let me show you. This is what I'm calling a sneg. Now, ice pegs are actually really expensive. However, they reminded me of something else. Caravan pegs that I've seen in the past. I got 10 of these for 11 quid. Ice pegs are normally £5 each. So yeah, Arctic on a budget here. Now, obviously, with our ice pegs, the one thing we are going to need is an impact driver. I've got to be honest, I've never come wild camping with impact before, but now I've brought it along on this journey, it's safe to say I'm never going without one again. Simply going to get it. It's got a nice little attachment. I'm going to pop it through the ring, down into the ice, and then we're going to simply drill down. You want to try and come in at about a 45-degree angle, and you want to work the peg into the ice to start off with, is what I found. You get it right, you should come in. This ice is so thick that it's quite hard to drill into. There we go. Our first peg is in. I bought this Cairngorm 2 about 2-3 years ago now from a sale, Go Outdoors. It only cost me, believe it or not, £30. This really is about as budget Arctic camping as you could possibly get, but it couldn't be any more epic for the price it's cost. There we go. What's reassuring is how hard it is to get these pegs in. It means it's really thick ice. More importantly, these pegs are about 6 inches thick and they are not going through the ice by any means. Now, we do both have actually matching setups, I'm going to be honest. We've both got Thermarest Neo Airs. These are rated to, I think, -10, -15. It's dropping to -12 tonight. All of this kit is right at home where it should belong. It'll be a real test to see whether it can hold its own or not. And then, of course, with our Neo Airs, we've then got these. Oh, MSR stove. But we've also got these. These are our Robans down sleeping bags. These are Serac 600. The comfort limit on these guys is rated to -14. As I said, it's dropped to -12 tonight. These do zip together, so we're going to have a lovely double down sleeping bag for the night, which I think with 2 of us in one of these will make a difference, if I'm really honest. But yeah, this kit is going to be right at the limit of use tonight, which is really interesting because I've never had it out in those conditions before, especially somewhere as extraordinary as this as well. We're going to get all this set up inside for the evening, and yeah, we're nearly done for our night on an ice lake. There you go. That is Snowmobile Road, folks, just there. So just as we've been setting up, there's some snowmobiles that have just come through and across the lake behind us. There's orange posts that sort of dot this lake all the way along, and it's like a snowmobile highway. To live out in Finland and be able to do that every single day must just be unbelievable. It'd be the first thing I'd be buying if I moved here, that's for sure. Tent all set up for the night. We've got our camping chairs. Best upgrade ever on a wild camp. I mean, like, come on, you know, when you can slide them across the ice. There was honestly, oh, and a sandwich, it just gets better. When you can slide them across the ice, there was honestly no difference on whether I brought them or didn't bring them. The sledge just seemed to slide the same. I'm not saying I'd be able to slide, you know, like a Boeing 747 on a sledge, but yeah, that's pretty cool. I can see when I go back to the UK now and have to get back to lightweight camping, it's going to be a bit of a struggle. Anyway, we're trying to make up those 8,000 calories we need with another sandwich and some sweets and some crisps, and then we'll be on to dinner a little bit later. We're going to turn the cameras off for go for a bit of an explore round, a bit of a wander. There's that island archipelago just behind us. There's just a geocache on one of those islands, so We may go find it, maybe. There's also some weird yellow thing in the distance, so we're going to go check out the weird yellow thing, the island archipelago, and then we're going to come back for dinner. And as I said, we'll munch ourselves through those 8,000 calories first. I'll see you in a little bit. It's decided to start snowing when we've come out to have dinner, but anyway, we're going to work through it. It's all good. Oh, rightio. So on the cards tonight is where's the stove?
You had it on the chair with your back, so it will be in there.
Okay. Right, let's try again. So on the cards tonight is obviously some sort of incredible dinner, as it always is on these wild camps. Tonight's gourmet menu for our Ice Lake camp is no other than hot dogs.
Ta-da.
Oh yes, ta-da. Does it get any better than that? Setup for this is obviously pretty simple. We're going to get some water. Aha! Like I made earlier. Just about enough water to put these hot dogs in. Hopefully the gas is doing alright. Gas doesn't like this sort of temperature, but we should be okay. Wow. Hang on, just let it burn through. In these temperatures, the gas doesn't quite stay as a gas. It likes to stay as a bit of a liquid. So you might have to let your stove warm up a little bit before you're going to get it to burn efficiently. There we go, I'll pop those on. Check that out, hot dogs on the go. It is going to take a while for those to boil up and through, so in the meantime I think we will just start a beer. Nastavi, sleeping on a nice lake. It's nice to say, I think, in those temperatures, these are pretty chilled beers at this point. Oh, I'm not sure how much it comes across on camera, but there is a snowstorm starting to come in while we're here on the lake. The winds are pretty low throughout the evening, so we've got no concern on that, but there is meant to be a bit of snowfall. It was meant to be between about 9 PM and midnight, but it's just coming in a little bit earlier, so how much it's going to be, I don't know, but we should be alright for the night. We can snowshoe our way out in the morning. But the tent's already starting to get frost on it as well. I think -12 is going to be a pretty nippy night here in Finland. You join us for updates left, updates right, and updates centre as well. The hot dogs are boiling. This is one of the most difficult dinners I've had to cook while in the mountains so far. However, we are pulling it off. Just while we're letting the hot dogs finish off, we have actually got a bit of an ice update. Because the ice where we got on was around about 1/2 metre thick. That was what we tested at. However, we went and found a little ice hole, which is about, I'd say, 500 metres away from us over there in the distance. And about 500 metres from where we are, the ice is just over 1 metre thick. So it's safe to say we are pretty good for the night. The sort of depth of ice you want, so you can walk on it, around about 4 inches, you'll be able to walk on that, that's fine. That leaves that at about 30 inches, which means you could put an articulated lorry on it. So I think us, our thermarests and the hot dogs, most importantly the hot dogs, I think we'll be alright. I think it's all going to be good for the night. It's slightly hard to comprehend ice that thick when you come from the UK. We just don't see it, obviously. However, in Finland, it's just what happens here in the Arctic. Oh, ready to move on to the next stage with our hot dogs. We'll take those up and off the stove. Now I do have a slight issue with this stove sometimes. When the gas is on its side, it doesn't like to turn off. So I'm going to see if I can rewrite the bottle. And hopefully, I may just, okay, I might just deconnect the gas. It's still burning away. And it's off. Right, so in all our technical kit that we've got with us here tonight, the one thing we've forgotten to bring is a fork. So instead of a fork, we're just going to be very quick with fingers, I believe.
Do you want?
Like sort of bobbing apples. Oh! There we go. Oh! Fantastic. That is a hot dog served up. Rightio, let's dive in. See if this is a decent dinner or not. Mmm. You know what? When you've been wandering around on the ice all day, hot dogs in buns with a bit of ketchup on, that is absolutely the way to go. We are going to get our way through the rest of the hot dogs and then I think get ourselves wrapped up for the night in bed. It's going to be a night of base layers. I think lots of warm cuddles up next to each other as well, with our zip together down sleeping bags. But you know what? I think even though our kit is on the limit tonight, I'm right on the limit, I think we're going to be all right. So I'll check in with you at bedtime. Here we are, wrapped up inside sleeping bags for the night. These are joined up as like a big sort of double down duvet, so we should stay pretty warm and toasty throughout the night, and luckily the thermarests are keeping us warm from underneath as well. It is, I think it might be 4 season, maybe 3 season, this tent, and actually inside the inner, although it's like -12 outside, it's probably only maybe, you know, -3 or 4 in here, which, yeah, is laughable, but it's a lot warmer than -12 is. So I think we're going to stay pretty warm night through. I'm going to go set this camera up outside as well for a few night lapses, and hopefully we might even catch the northern lights on it. Let's see, let's find out. Anyway, we'll see you guys in the morning. There we go. The camera that recorded all night long. You'll have just seen whether that footage is any good or not. This poor little guy needs warming up. What an incredible night it's been here on the ice lake. We are going to get ourselves packed away now as quick as possible because we're a little bit cold, if we're honest. Our down sleeping bags did quite a good job overnight. In fact, in the tent we were pretty warm. It was about -11 this morning, and yeah, that is beyond cold. Everything that was out here overnight is just frozen solid. Boots frozen solid, water in bottles is frozen solid, just everything is frozen. So we've got a little camper van that we're staying in this week, which is just on the lakeshore about 2 miles away. So we're going to get our skates on and get ourselves over there. Quite literally, our skates or our snowshoes, I guess. One of the most unnerving things that happened in the night by far was hearing the ice crack around us. That was one thing that luckily I'd prepared for. I've never done this before. I'd read quite a bit into it, and one of the things that I'd read we needed to watch out for was you would be able to hear the ice moving and cracking in the night, and not to panic too much, and you could hear it. It was like this deep, hollow thud. Some of those sounded like they were miles away, some of them sounded like they were right underneath the tent. And as I said, if I hadn't read into what that is, the movement of the ice, and I was going to hear those sounds, we might have been a little bit more freaked out at 4 in the morning when there was a huge crack that sounded like it was quite literally just outside of our tent. You get out this morning though, and no crack to be found, nothing at all. But those cracks could be in the ice, underneath the ice, on top of the ice, could quite literally be anywhere. But the sound that echoed was incredible. We are going to get ourselves packed away and get on the move. There we go, spot cleared away. As you can see, as always, even though we're on an ice lake, we have still left no trace, apart from some sort of very melted patches around. There we are, debrief on my iPhone because every other camera I've got is absolutely dead. Check out all of our prints behind. I'm not gonna lie, that was probably one of the hardest nights I've ever spent out. But we managed to do it. We survived the night. We stayed pretty warm through. I've got to be honest, it's this morning that's killed us off. I'm -11, packing away in those temperatures is just so beyond cold. We've learnt a lot doing this expedition, but how cool has that been? Us and our, where is it? €9 little sledge here on the ice lakes of Finland in the Arctic. It's just incredible. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, I don't know, do something, and I'll see you in the next one.